Hi, Dharma friends. It's so good to see all of you today. Will you please put your hands together and join me in Gassho? And together we'll recite the Buddha's name. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. So hi again, everybody. I'm really happy to see all of you. Uh, this is the first Dharma message from the Arizona Buddhist Temple for the month of October. So even though it's still around 100 degrees out there, fall is sort of in the air, right? October is also one of my most favorite months because my favorite holiday of the year happens at the very end of the month. So does anyone know what holiday that is? It's Halloween, right? Yeah. Didn't want to leave you in suspense for too long. Halloween's a great holiday. It's an opportunity for us to get in touch with our inner monsters, right? And speaking of monsters, it's also a great month to watch a lot of classic monster movies, things like Frankenstein or Dracula or even The Blob, which is something I did with my family a week ago. We watched the original 1958 version with Steve McQueen, and I have to say, The Blob is held up really well. And it even has a message about global warming at the end. So no spoilers here, but I invite you to watch that movie so you can see what that message is. So today I want to kind of keep things light, but I do want to talk about something that's really important. So, how many of you have ever been angry before? Yeah, yeah, me too. I've been angry before. In fact, I kind of experience anger more often than not, and I think the reason for that is because anger is a very normal part of being a human being. It's a natural emotion. And many times people think that Buddhists aren't supposed to get angry. Well, that might be the case of what people think, but it's definitely not reality. And I'm sure my Buddhist friends can attest to that. Being angry is something that we all face. In Buddhism, though, anger is considered to be one of the three poisons of being a human being, the other two being greed and ignorance, although we sometimes say stupidity instead of ignorance. So, together, greed, anger, and stupidity form an acronym that spells gas, right? And as human beings, we sure pass a lot of stinky gas in our lives, don't we? So, when we think about anger, one thing that anger has in common across most monster movies is that most of the monsters are angry, right? So, like my good friend here, the Headless Horseman, he's a pretty angry dude. And he kind of lost his head because he was angry. He was fighting in a war. His head got blown off by a cannonball. And then he continued to be angry afterwards and went around hunting for other heads until his spirit finally vanished. At least we think it vanished. I don't know. Um, but he was a pretty angry guy. And whether it's the Wolfman or the Mummy or Dracula, um, these monsters all had anger issues, you could say. So that kind of makes us all a little bit like monsters, right? And if you think about it, when we get angry, we sometimes lash out at others or say things that we're not proud of afterwards. And right now, if you're watching TV or watching the news, you certainly see a lot of anger everywhere. And it seems like to me, even on streaming services online, there are political advertisements everywhere. And the one thing almost all of them seem to have in common is this sense of anger, right? So usually one candidate or party is saying something horrible about another candidate or party, and it comes from a position of anger. Or it could come from a position of trying to scare you or making you feel confused. And as human beings, when we feel afraid or confused or uncertain about things going on in our lives, sometimes that manifests as anger. So, is anger bad? Well, blind anger might be bad, right? When we quickly get angry and we lash out at folks. Sometimes, if you can slow things down just a little bit, your anger can turn into something constructive. So if you think about people such as Gandhi or Jesus Christ or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or Representative John Lewis or Malala or Greta Thunberg, those are all people who had legitimate things to be angry about. And yet they still found a way to channel that anger into something constructive. In Buddhism, when we think about anger, it's not something that resides outside of us. Anger is internal. So external factors might influence us and how we feel, but our anger is right here. And the way we respond to anger is incredibly important. I used to work with kids for many, many years, and I would work with them on trying to identify when they were starting to feel angry so they can slow things down before they did something that maybe would have serious consequences for them. And this is true for adults too. So it does not matter what age you are. When you get angry and you're blinded by that anger and you lash out at people and you say and do things that could hurt others, yeah, it hurts them. It also hurts you too. Consequences, right? We want to try to avoid those things that hurt other people and ourselves. So the first step is to recognize when you're starting to feel angry. So let me ask you, do you know when you're starting to feel angry? Can you tell? Again, things might be on the outside, right? That might be triggers, but you still feel it here. So how do you know when you're starting to feel angry? Well, for me, the way I start to feel angry is I begin to clench my jaw. And if I do that long enough, it starts to hurt and I feel pain right here. I get like a really serious headache. And if I'm not aware that I'm clenching my jaw and I'm getting this pain right here, that's when I'm in trouble. That's when I might lash out and say something to people around me or yell at the TV at a presidential debate or a political advertisement, right? Things that are not too becoming of a Buddhist minister, and yet I'm a human being, so everybody does it, right? But I want to try to minimize those as much as possible. If you're driving a car and you get angry and you're blinded by your anger, you can have car accidents, right? If you're upset at how you performed in a test and you lash out at your teacher because you're angry about that, you could get in trouble at school too. Or if you're at work and things don't go your way and you blurt out, maybe a bad four-letter word, you can get in big trouble, especially if it's directed at your boss. So don't do that, right? So recognizing when we feel angry or whatever the causes are is incredibly important. The second thing, though, is you have to recognize how can you calm yourself down so you can deal with your anger in a constructive way, how you can tame the inner monster, so to speak. So there's a wonderful technique that I used to teach kids called belly breathing, and it is exactly as it sounds. You become aware of your stomach rising and falling as you breathe. And it's real important as you practice belly breathing that you're taking deep breaths, and that they're slow, right? And mindful in a way, because if you're doing this, it just makes you more angry and you're not getting enough oxygen up here into your brain that helps you to process what you're feeling and what you should really do about it. So belly breathing is incredibly important. So why don't we go ahead and practice it together? All right, you ready? Here we go. Okay, everybody, are you ready to try it? All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our hands, we're going to place them on our belly, and then we're just going to practice breathing. So let's just take a real big deep breath and see how big we can make our tummies get. All right, ready? Here we go. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, if your tummy's not getting big, you're not doing it right. So you want to make sure your tummy is actually coming out a little bit, okay? And let's try doing it through our nose. So let's breathe in. And then breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. How do you feel? I already feel more relaxed. So that's a tool that you can use the next time you feel angry. I hope you'll try it out. So how was that? Did that work out well for you too? I know for me, again, I felt just calmer doing that practice. So anytime I'm starting to feel that way, I'll do my belly breathing. It is helpful. So I encourage you to do so too. At the end of this message, I'm actually going to share a link to my friends at Sesame Street who have a wonderful song about belly breathing. And I encourage you all to watch. It's just a couple minutes long, but it's a good reminder of how to belly breathe the right way to help you calm down and avoid your inner monster from coming out too much, right? So thank you so much for listening today. Look forward to seeing you again. I hope your October goes well. And don't forget, every single Sunday, we usually have a video posted from either Sensei Lynn, Sensei Mike, myself, and occasionally Sensei Gibbs in Pasadena as a guest speaker. So please watch these videos if you're looking for a little Dharma inspiration in your lives on a weekly basis. And then if you like what you see and you'd like to make a donation to our temple, we would greatly appreciate it. You can find the link to make a donation on our temple's website, www.azbuddhisttemple.org. So thank you so much for listening today. And would you please put your hands together one more time and join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Thank you, everybody. See you next time. Have a great month and stay safe. Bye.